Welcome to the Academy, your training hub for entrepreneurship in this new digital economy. People from all walks of life, students, professionals, and online entrepreneurs, direct sellers, online dropshippers are now looking for innovative ways and means to maximize the power of this new digital economy and learn from home and earn from home as well. Remember that there are three critical success factors for you to be successful in this new digital economy. Number one is your entrepreneurial mindset. Number two, your entrepreneurial mastery. And number three is your entrepreneurial management. Three questions that you have to ask yourself. What are you passionate about? Number two, what are the relative skills that you have in this new economy? And number three, what do you think are the expectations of your partners or your clients or your customers? We at the Academy offer you valuable masterclass courses that will develop you and hone you to become a champion entrepreneur online. We want you to become a digital brand in this new economy. So click the link below and learn more about the 4 masterclass courses that we offer in entrepreneurship, in entrepreneurial management, digital entrepreneurship, and digital selling. So again, I'm your coach, Jonathan Petalver of the Academy, your training hub for entrepreneurship in this new digital economy. Welcome and see you in class. All right, good morning, everyone. This is your coach, Coach Jonathan of the Academy, your training hub for entrepreneurship, and you're watching Season 4, Episode 2 of the Entrepreneurial LeaderShift series. Of course, with no other than Gary Smith, live all the way from the East Coast or Connecticut in the United States of America. So with joining us today, so we'll have more time to talk about our lecture from Mr. Gary Smith. How are you, Gary?
Good morning, Coach Jonathan. Good to see you. And I should say good morning from the East Coast. It's good evening where you are.
Correct. Good evening in the Philippines. And then, of course, we have our live audience and students from New Zealand, from Australia, from, Hong Kong, Thailand, New York, and all parts of the world. So how are you, Gary?
I'm doing very well, Jonathan. It's so good to see you again, my friend, and to get to spend some time both with you and our online students.
Correct. And I hope to see you next week, next month, right?
Yes.
So I'll see you in New York. I'll see you in New York because we will be doing, a fundraising project with the Federation of the Philippine American Chambers of Commerce. So we will be moving from the West Coast to the East Coast to bring this good opportunity for us to collaborate and, stay ahead and thrive amidst this COVID-19 pandemic. So I hope to see you maybe 24th to 26th of October, at least before I fly back to Los Angeles again.
Very good. Looking forward to it.
Sure. All right. So what are we going to talk about today, Gary? Because last week, we were able to learn about entrepreneurial mindset, and it's where you set your mind, what you say daily, what you think you will attract, and all those things. And today, we would like to discover why leaders are so passionate. And I think you have prepared something for us. And, they will learn that, mindset and passion and all the things happening around us, it's all about mindset, right?
It really is, Jonathan. It's about mindset. And just to quickly recap, last week when we were talking about the whole concept of mindset, it's not just how we view ourselves and how we view our own futures and things like that, but it spills over. So it affects how other people view us and how we view others. But today we want to take that and maybe dig just a little bit deeper, because when we talk about leadership, there is a shift, which we're talking about the leader shift. There is a shift that has to go on, because leaders must first, before they can lead others, they must first learn to lead themselves. And when we're talking about leading ourselves, that means that we have to be able to understand ourselves. We have to understand how we think, how we process information, how we go about doing things in life, and ultimately we need to understand what works for us and what doesn't work for us. And so, what I wanted to do today, being an engineer, I tend to like flowcharts because to me that sort of helps people understand the logic of things. And so what I wanted to start out with that first slide is just realizing that each and every one of us, every day, we make hundreds, if not thousands, of choices. And the fact is that probably 80 or 90% of those choices we make, we're completely unaware of. But the fact remains, too, that the choices that we make uh, drive us to take action. The action we take produces results, and those results have an impact. And sometimes that impact is on us, sometimes it's on others, and sometimes it's on both. But stop and think about it. As an example, when you get up in the morning, what are the first things that you do? Do you go to the bathroom, get a drink of water, brush your teeth, get dressed, have breakfast? Maybe you go and make a pot of coffee like I do every morning. But when we think about those basic, those simple choices that we make, what happens is that most of them are on autopilot, and we're completely unconscious of the choices that we're making. But those choices do drive us to take action. So as a quick and sort of silly example, let's say that I come down to my kitchen for breakfast in the morning, and I have a choice between a heart-healthy bowl of oatmeal or a leftover donut from last night. If I choose to eat the donut, the action is I consume the donut. But what result does that produce? Ultimately, it's not a healthy choice. And so in the long term, the results is that I could be gaining weight. I could be feeling lethargic and not performing well during the course of the day. It could eventually, if I repeat that process over and over and over, it could lead me to a point of having diabetes, having heart problems. And the impact of that is not just on my personal health, but it also impacts those around me. So that's a quick example of how that model works. But what happens, the question we need to deal with is, as developing leaders, what happens or how do we deal with things when the results that we're producing and the impact that we're having is not what we want? And ultimately, what we do is we go back and we try and force ourselves to make different choices. And that may work in the short term, but I think we're missing the boat because there's a part of the model that we haven't looked at yet. And if you can put up the next slide there, Jonathan, we'll talk about that because there's two critical things that we're missing, and that is beliefs and rules. And let me explain how this works. We all have, whether we recognize them or not, we all have beliefs, or what some people call core values, that drive us through our lives. And again, probably only about 20% of the beliefs that we have are beliefs that we have deliberately decided to install in ourselves. So as an example, 40 something years ago, I became a Christian. I decided to become a follower of Christ. So that was a belief system or a core value that I decided to install. But what about all of the other beliefs that we unconsciously allow to be installed in us as a result of just living life, experiencing life, the families that we grow up in, the school environments, whether we were bullied when we were in school, the work environment and how we're treated in the work environment. So all those things are sort of subconscious things that we have to deal with. But the key to it is that when we have beliefs like that, the beliefs cause us to create rules. And I've shown a picture of a young woman here wearing a face shield. Like she was working in a chemical laboratory or something. But I believe that we all have this invisible screen that exists between us and our world. And everything that comes into us, everything that people are saying to us, everything we experience in life is filtered by that screen. And everything we communicate to the outside world is filtered by that screen. And what happens is that we take out an invisible magic marker and we write rules on that screen. And rules are usually in the form of, if this happens, then this is how I will respond. And that ultimately, those rules ultimately drive the choices that we make, that control the actions that we take, and therefore affect the results we produce and the impact that we have. And so let me
Very quick, yeah, quick
go ahead.
question. Yeah,
Yeah.
you mentioned about beliefs, like 20% of what believe in triggers the rules that we set ourselves, right? I mean, like, let's say here in Asia, like people some of them, they wear their mask, and they wear their mask. Some of them, they don't. But here in the Philippines specifically, on top of the mask, we wear our shields, face shields. What do you think is the reason behind this? Is it the belief that's why we are setting rules for ourselves, something like that?
It could be that
Mm-hmm.
we're setting rules for ourselves. It could be that we have, as an example, a belief system that says that I'm responsible for my own personal behavior, and I also have a
Mm-hmm.
responsibility to care for those around me. So therefore, when I go out in public, I will wear a mask, I will wear a shield,
Mm-hmm.
whatever I need to do. But the key that you were talking about there, Jonathan, is that the 20% of the beliefs that we have are beliefs like that we have deliberately decided to have. But there's another 80% that have been installed in us during our life experiences that really has nothing to do with what we believe. And that's the portion of our beliefs that cause the problem. So as an
Mm-hmm.
example, in the model that I showed, let's say that I have a belief that all Doberman pinschers are vicious.
Correct.
Now that a belief may have been installed in my system because when I was a little boy, 5 or 6 years old, my next door neighbor had a Doberman, and maybe it happened to be a particularly nasty dog. It barked at me, it snapped at me, maybe even bit me when I was a little kid.
Mm-hmm.
But so as a result of that, I might write a rule on my little screen that says, if I ever encounter a Doberman, I will be like Superman. I will run like the wind. I will leap tall buildings at a single bound, but I will get away from that dog. And so let's say then, tonight my wife and I are out taking a walk in our neighborhood, and I notice that one of my neighbors has a new dog, and the dog is out running around in the front yard. And as I get closer, I
Mm-hmm.
recognize the dog as a Doberman. What am I
Mm-hmm.
going to do? My rule kicks in, and my choice is I run. I get away from that dog. Now, the
Mm-hmm.
result I produce is that I get away from the dog, but the impact that I have is that my wife is upset because I left her standing on the street all by herself. But
Correct.
what it does is, it's a silly example, but what it does is it puts us in a situation to ask a critical question, and that is, all Dobermans in fact vicious? No,
Mm-hmm.
they aren't. But because of the beliefs that I have, I'll never meet any nice Dobermans because I'll never get close enough to figure it out. And so that becomes, when we're not producing the results that we want in life, or we're not having the impact that we want to have, what we really need to be doing is going back and discovering what are the underlying beliefs that are
Mm-hmm.
driving that behavior, and discover that belief. And if the belief is not serving you, change it. Change it to
Mm-hmm.
something else that does serve you. And then when you change your belief, you change the rules, you change the choices you make, and you produce different results, and you have a different impact.
Correct. So it's like saying, you can choose your thoughts, right, on whatever you just want to believe in. Like, for instance, let's say people are afraid of, let's say, snakes, because they believe that when you are bitten by snakes, you will die. Therefore, they will set rules. Now, following this one, Gary, they will set rules on themselves, and then after that, they will make, should we say, choices,
Right. Exactly.
right? Right? They will make their choices. They will be careful with the choices, and then whatever they chose, let's say A, B, C as options, and from there they will take actions, and of course, it will trigger results and impact. But yeah, we will just pause for a break, Gary, and then after that, my question basically is how, let's say, as a leader, let's say, as a leader in the workplace, as a leader of an organization, how does one really, should we say, uh, limits himself, or should we say, is it more of a belief system in terms of managing or leading their people? Because you see, in some parts of the world right now, they are COVID free. They're taking actions. Yes, COVID has an impact on the society, but because the leader, made a decision. So following this one, because the leader made actions, or from his her or her choices, now he sets rules because this is what he or she believes in. But she will answer that, Gary, and then we will call our guest, and then we will conclude, of course, our session for this morning. Okay, but you will be right back after our break.
Building a home for your family in the Philippines? Get connected with the right partner. Your house and lot, condominium, home improvement, and loan takeout is made easy with PNB's OPHL. It's available at PNB LA, New York, Tokyo, Nagoya, Singapore, Hong Kong, and Middle East. OPHL allows borrowers to pay in local currency without remittance fees. No co-borrower required. Qualified borrowers must also have good credit standing, stable employment, and sufficient disposable income. Loan up to 80% of the property value and enjoy easy payment terms. Visit the nearest PNB branch to apply today.
All right, so we're back with Gary Smith Mornings with our great mentor. And for those of you who just tuned in, thank you so much for watching Edward Obiena from the Philippines, Ruda Llanesa. And of course, we have people from Smart Asset Managers from Malaysia, Australia, and New Zealand. Of course, from the Middle East, we have people from SFI or Global. So before we take a break, Gary, maybe as we conclude our session for today, it's all about belief, right? But how does one, why do they have impact? Is it because of their belief system, or in their early years, there's a structure or a pattern, or maybe from their genes that they have a belief like this? Because, in Asia, different beliefs, right? In North America, different beliefs compared, in Europe and all those things. What can you say about that?
Yeah, I think that, I think really beliefs are foundational to everything. And we're going to be talking about that in coming weeks. But when we talk about things like, what is your purpose in life? Why are you here? What are you ultimately trying to accomplish? That has a strong linkage to what you believe. And at the same time, when we look at what are our basic needs in life, as far as, making money and relationships and things like that, all of those things that really comprise our life are driven by what we believe. But the real key with leadership is to not just understand your beliefs, but to understand and be sensitive to the beliefs of others, so that as you are working and as you are a servant leader, you're taking into consideration where they're coming from. And also, when we talk about the entrepreneurial aspects of things, if you are a leader building an organization, are you conscious of what your belief system is, and are you bringing people into your organization whose belief systems are similar to or that complement the belief system that you have? And that's
Correct.
one of the foundations for building a strong organization, is to have that integrated nature, that harmony with people, so that it moves the organization forward in a unified direction.
Correct, because sometimes, let's say, a political leader, for instance, you know, he has his own belief, right? And because he has the authority, then he will set the rules, even though what they believed in is different from the belief of the people, you know, that he is, let's say, leading.
Right. And
How do you, yeah.
I think especially in the political environment, I mean, there's an old saying here in the United States that a politician has two jobs. The first is to get elected, and the second is to get reelected.
Mm-hmm.
And so, they, on the one hand, they have to somehow do enough to be able to keep the people interested and keep the people supportive of the things that they're
Mm-hmm.
doing. But on the other hand, there is so much that is driven by their desire for power and influence and money. And that's why I think governments around the world have a level of corruption, because people are self-serving. They're self-centered. They want what it is that they want, and they're going to get it no matter how many people they have to run over. And so but that ties back to the belief system. So if you when I look back to, as an example, when I look back to the founding of America and our founding fathers, they were completely different than the politicians today, because number one, they were not getting paid to do the work that they were doing. Each of them
Mm-hmm.
had their own business and everything, and they were serving the government because they had a heart for serving the people. And when
Mm-hmm.
you come in with that, with a different attitude, with that different mindset, then your leadership style becomes different, because you're there for a different reason. You have a different purpose in the things that you're doing. And I think in many places in the world today, we've lost that, because people have become more about what's in it for me than how can I go in and really help the people of my country move forward in a positive direction.
Correct. Correct. So basically, at the end of the day, Gary, my key takeaway here is passionate leaders really, of course, the goal is to produce results, but of course, it's still their actions who will speak louder than their words, right? And sometimes, whatever we believed in, right, it will just really, come up the surface, because sometimes you are doing these things, but deep inside you are believing for something else, and it will just come out naturally that these are two contradicting facts
Well,
or
and that's one of
thoughts.
the things that I talk about a lot, is when you look at when people are trying to discover what their purpose in life is, and trying to,
Mm,
to find out ultimately, what do I want my life to be about? And again, another silly example, that let's say that my purpose in life is to make a lot of money, not because I want to
mm,
be wealthy, but because I want to be very philanthropic. I want to give a
correct,
lot of money away. But
correct.
if that is my purpose, but if in my belief system I have the belief that money is bad, that money is the root of all evil, what are the chances that I'm going to be able to fulfill my purpose? Because the purpose that I have in life and my belief system are in direct conflict with one another. So I'm constantly butting heads with myself, and the chances of me being able to achieve that purpose go down pretty dramatically.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm. Yeah, so let's welcome, before we end our session today, it's very, very, interesting, because maybe some of our audience right now who's watching us is, they have this question: what do they need to do to really stay ahead and thrive amidst this pandemic? So with us is Miss Nicole. Are you there? Hi,
Hi,
Nicole. How are
good
you?
morning. Good
There you
morning,
go, Gary.
Jonathan. Good morning, Gary.
Good
Good
morning,
morning.
Nicole. So good to see you this morning.
Good to see you as
Correct.
well.
Correct. So, Nicole, regarding our, for sure you are watching, and because we're talking about passion and mindset of leaders, on how come other leaders are giving impact, or when they take actions, it's really impactful, and others are not. You know, before you ask Gary a question, maybe you'd like to share on your journey, as an entrepreneur, and how do you think your belief system like helped you in achieving the results that you want to have in life.
Well, I just want to first say that I like what Gary said, that beliefs serve as a foundation for everything. And that's why we have to look into these beliefs that we have. And as Gary said, we have to examine them and make sure that they serve us, or let's know whether they serve us or not. And if not, we have to look into them again, change it to make sure that it's not in conflict with our goals.
Mm-hmm.
uh, I like this particular session. I like the first one, but this one too, because it really teaches you a lot. It teaches you that if you do not correct your beliefs that came from probably your experiences when you were young, from your education, from your family, from your culture, then you might be limiting the opportunities, or you might be in conflict with your goals. So
Correct.
for me, it's very important to do this, to really start with yourself, so you can move forward and really be able to attain your goals. So that's what I learned from the session that I heard from earlier.
Gary? Yeah, that was a great insights, Nicole, right? I mean, sometimes, because sometimes at the back of our minds, we want to do something. We want to bring, influence, empower, equip people, right? However, however, whatever beliefs, that has been ingrained in your mind since, your childhood, it will really surface. That's why it's all about, yeah, Gary?
Absolutely. And Nicole, you're right on target with what you're saying, is that it really does take that level of self-examination to go back and really uncover. And that's a thing that a lot of people struggle with. And I think it's important for us as we're trying to deal with this, that we surround ourselves, with people, and maybe not a crowd, but at least a few people who know us well and who we will allow to speak into our lives, so that they can look at us and say, well, when you did this, where's this coming from? And help us to uncover what those beliefs are, as you said, Nicole, those beliefs that are limiting our ability to move forward. Sometimes we need people to help us uncover that and to point it out to us, and at least get us thinking about it, to say, gee, is that really something that's true in my life? Is it something that I really need to consider? Is it something I need to change? And when we do, then we can really start moving forward, because it's all about getting better every day. It's, am I better today? Yeah, better today than I was yesterday, and am I making that consistent progress to be toward becoming the person that I need to be?
Correct. Correct. Nicole?
Well, to add to that, Jonathan asked me earlier about my journey as well in terms of my
Correct.
career. So in real estate, I would just like to add, Gary, that I believe that this belief system affects our mindset. And
Mm.
during the first session, that was the main topic, and I really like that. I know how important it is to have the right mindset. With the background of the two of you, I'm sure you have been asked the question, "What can't you do?" And
Mhm.
when I think about it, with these two sessions, I think that one of the best responses would be to say, "I don't know how to give up." And when you say you don't have to give up, it doesn't mean that you don't know how to let go. It just means that you do not stop when you encounter failures or
Mhm.
trials. And even if you feel like, example for me, if it's difficult to get the quota, or sell this real
To
estate
deliver,
property,
yeah.
I
Correct.
shouldn't stop. What I
Correct.
should be doing is check whatever it is that's happening. Why am I not being able to deliver? And what can I do to change that? What can I do to improve my mindset in order for me to really attain these goals? And actually, maybe I shouldn't be using the word failure, because I also believe that it will only be called a failure if you did not learn from it. So
Correct.
that's it.
But that there
Yeah.
again, and that's a great point, Nicole. There again, that's all about mindset, because your
Mm.
mindset determines how you view difficult challenges in life. On the one hand, you can look at it as a failure, because you've not succeeded. But if you have a mindset that says, okay, rather than beating, I mean, we're, as human beings, we're great at beating ourselves up. I mean, when I fail at something, it's very easy for me to sit back and say, how could I have been so stupid to do
Mhm.
things that way? And you know what? When I say something like that to myself, my mind can come up with all sorts of reasons for how stupid I am. But
Mhm.
if I look at it and I ask myself a better quality question to say, okay, this didn't work out. What is it that I can learn from this to help me move forward? Then as we learn the lessons, you're right on target, Nicole. We're not failing. We're just learning in the process, and we're getting better, and we're progressing forward, and we're developing that skill set, and we're developing that action muscle to be able to continue to drive ourselves forward. And if we do that consistently, we will be successful. We can't help but be successful.
Correct. Interestingly, right? I mean, I don't know if you've noticed this, and there are people, like they failed, right? They failed, and years after, when you saw them again, then they became successful. So following the model, that we presented, Gary, I think it's a matter of really them changing their belief system. Just like when I coach as well, Gary and Nicole, right? Instead of selling, for instance, right? Instead of selling, because today, if you, of course, positive thinking, right? I will sell. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you will just change your belief system in such a way that today I will not sell, rather, my belief today is I will look for the right person who's looking for me.
Right.
And
Or
yeah,
or
it will
to
add value, right?
Right. Or to put it another way, what you're looking at is you're realizing and you're breaking it down and saying, okay, what are the components of selling? The components of selling are building relationships and
Correct.
adding value to other people.
To the other people, yeah.
And when you do that, then you will sell. But it's just like we talked about last week during the mindset. Having a mindset of I want to make a lot of money is that's not a good goal. Adding value to the marketplace in such a way that you can be compensated for it, that's a good goal.
Correct.
But it takes
Correct.
that fundamental change in beliefs that change your mindset, that change how you approach things.
Correct. Correct. So, Nicole, thank you so much for being with us tonight. And yeah, we hope to see you again. And hope you can like bring your should I say success with us again, as we see you in our next. I think you'll be back, right, in the next few weeks.
Yes, and I
And
look
then
forward to the next session with you guys. I
please,
really learned a lot tonight and
please,
this morning because of your time.
yeah. Thank you, Nicole.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very
Thanks,
much,
Jonathan.
Nicole.
Thanks, Gary.
Yeah, Gary, let's read some interesting inputs here from our listeners, at least before we end.
Okay.
We have some interesting comments here. Of course, let's start it with Rayan. Rayan is watching from Abu Dhabi, United Arab Emirates, right? And yeah, his insight today is the purpose is to share the opportunity and give impact to others. What do you say about that, Gary?
Absolutely. I mean, if that's whatever opportunity you're talking about, one of our purposes is to share the things that we know, to share the things that we're learning with others. One of the things I think that's very powerful in good leaders is they do not keep things to themselves, because they don't, because they have a mindset that says, it's not what I know that gives me security. It's who I develop that gives me security.
Your security,
And
right?
so they're teaching others, they're sharing what they know with others. And that has a tremendous impact, not only on the individuals, but the individuals that they touch. And it becomes a snowball effect, if you will.
Correct. And
Now,
that person who's been touched will also touch others. And
right. And that's what we want.
That's what we are. That's why we're here. That's why we are, really devoting ourselves to really not to influence, but to impart knowledge. Interestingly, Coach Marlon Rabel, again from United Arab Emirates, is here. Yes, it is important. He commented that we let go of our limiting beliefs in order to be a great leader, right?
Absolutely. But the key to it is, and the challenge is discovering what those limiting beliefs are. Because there's so much of the time that, we as human beings, we are great rationalizers of our own bad behavior. And so that's where sometimes we need others, as an example, a coach, to be able to talk with and have that individual speaking into your life and saying, wait a minute, why is it that you believe this? Because it's not serving you, it's not helping you. And if we can help other people uncover and eliminate those beliefs, really, really true. And the other comment that Marlon is making here is the quality of your questions. It's all about that. That resonates with me very, very strongly, that we have to learn to ask ourselves quality questions, because when you ask quality questions, you give yourself quality answers.
Correct. And at the end of the day, what you ask yourself, you become.
Right.
Like,
Well,
for instance,
I think it was
yeah.
Henry Ford who says, if you believe you can, or if you believe you can't,
You can't.
you're right.
You're right. You're 100% right.
So do you look at life through the standpoint through the lens of what is impossible, or through what is possible?
Correct. Wow. Interesting. So what do we have for next week, Gary?
Next week, I think we're going to jump into the now that we've talked a little bit about the whole idea of belief systems and we've talked about mindset, we're going to talk about purpose and how mindset
Okay. Wow.
helps you create your purpose.
Correct. So we have mindset and then we have passion and purpose. As we end this, Gary, my key learning takeaways here is leaders, create impact because of their actions, the results, the actions. And these actions are based, of course, on the choices each one of us make because we have these rules that we make within ourselves. And ultimately, it's all about the belief, the mindset, the awareness that we have. Again, thank you very much, Gary. Thank you again, everyone, for watching our live broadcast. Again, please do watch us, after mindset, passion, and we go to purpose, right, Gary? For next week?
Yes, we absolutely will.
We will be talking about purpose. Thank you so much, Rayan. Exciting next week. The topic is all about purpose. Okay, so again, this is Coach Jonathan together with Gary Smith. You're watching Champion Ka, Building Leaders
and Leading Builders.
God bless you and see you next week.
We are the Global Academy, your training hub for entrepreneurship and business leadership. Headquartered in New Zealand, we have satellite offices in Melbourne, New York, Dubai, and Manila. The Global Academy New Zealand offers strategic master classes with our 4M proven framework that transforms mindset, develops mastery, strengthens management, and mentorship programs to sustain your organization competitive advantage. We are the Global Academy New Zealand, building leaders, leading builders. See you in class.